Welcome back to Pastry Maestra. I'm Tereza and today I'm making bacon and onion tart. There is nothing to be said about bacon and onion, one would think, right? We all know what is bacon, and we all hate slicing onion because it makes us cry, period. Well, not so fast. Let's hit the brakes and see if there is more than meets the eye, shall we? Bacon's history dates back thousands of years, all the way to 1500 BC, in which the Chinese were curing pork bellies with salt, creating an early form of bacon. Imagine 1500 BC. We don't know how and when the pork curing methods reached the old continent, but we can say with certainty that Romans and Greeks were quite skillful at bacon production. It seems that Anglo-Saxons were particularly fond of bacon, because as early as 12th century they coined a famous phrase, "bring home the bacon." Did you know that? I bet you didn't. First, let me make it clear that this has nothing to do with making money, as one could think. No, the meaning is much more profound in fact. You see, a church in the historic English town of Dunmow promised a flitch, side of a hog of bacon, to any married man who could swear before the congregation and God that he had not quarreled with his wife for a year and a day. A husband who could bring home the bacon was held in high esteem by the community for his good nature, self-control and patience. Now, hear this. Today, 9 centuries later, the town of Dunmow is called Great Dunmow, but the tradition is still alive. Meaning that every 4 years the Dunmow flitch trials are held, and they still award the flitch of bacon to married couples if they can satisfy the judge and jury of 6 maidens and 6 bachelors that in 12 months and a day they are still happy to be married. Fascinating, right? It's much more in bacon than sizzle and fat, I'd say. By the way, there is a dating app for bacon lovers called Sizzle that helps you find the love of your life that also loves bacon. I kid you not. Now about the onions. They have been around for about 7,000 years. In ancient Egypt they were worshipped because it was believed by ancient Egyptians that concentric rings and spherical shape of the onions were symbols of eternity, so many pictures of onion were found in Egyptian tombs. During the Middle Ages, onions were actually used as gifts and even currency. People used to pay for services and goods and even paid rent using onions. Today, we all know that onions are good for the health, low in calories but high in vitamins and minerals, loaded with antioxidants, have antibacterial properties, and so on and so forth. I could talk for hours about bacon and onions, but I won't because I'm already hungry. So I'll show you how to make delicious bacon and onion tart right now, so stay tuned. As usual, the recipe is on my site and the link is down below. I will roll out my puff pastry into 3 mm, which is 1/8 of an inch thick rectangle. Then I will trim the edges so that my tart is nice and even. I will cut out 1 cm, which is 3/8 of an inch wide strips on all 4 sides of the dough. Then I'm gonna brush the edges of the rectangle with water. Now I'll glue the strips and that way I will get nice edges of my tart. I will dock the middle of the dough with a fork. Then I will put everything in the fridge to cool. Now I will make sour cream sauce. I've put sour cream into a bowl. I will add 1 egg, salt and pepper and stir with the whisk until the mixture becomes uniform. Using the back of my spoon, I'll spread the sauce over the pastry. Then I'll put sliced onions and pieces of smoked bacon in the tart. I will brush the edges of my tart with egg wash. Then I'm gonna score them with my small knife to get a pattern. I'll bake my tart at 180 degrees centigrade, which is 350 degrees Fahrenheit, for about 25 to 30 minutes until golden. My bacon and onion tart is done and it smells delicious. Before serving, I'm gonna decorate it with some rocket and cherry tomatoes. All I need now is a glass of wine and good company. Join me!
Oh baby, you are so sweet, so delicious and yummy, so good to eat. I wanna lick you, feel your sweetness on my lips. Forever and ever, you'll stay on my hips.
I'm Teresa. Thanks for watching my video. I hope you liked it. If you want to stay in touch, follow me on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, and of course, visit my site where you can find elaborate posts with lots of pictures, additional information and recipes that follow my every video. Also, on my site you can download my free 365 pages ebook, The Pastry Chef, and maybe buy me a macaron. If you think that I've earned it. Now, before you go, please hit the like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel. That really helps a lot. Finally, and this is the most important thing, don't forget to create sweetness every day, because sweetness is happiness. See you in my next video. Bye!